So, welcome to the new art studio. This is where I'm doing my workshops. So I've rigged up an overhead camera. This is the workshop I just finished. To have it well lit, I put the camera up on a tripod and it looks down at my paper. And I'm going to do a bunch of workshops and I hope you all enjoy them. We'll talk about them on Thursday. And I don't know, it's a new world for me, new world for all of us. Okay, ladies, be safe, take care, bye. Okay, I'm just gonna do a very loose, sketchy searching line to create the shape of each rock. They don't have to be exact, just the general shape. You'll hone in on the shape more when you start really paying attention to the details of each stone. Okay, so I'm just laying in. This one has some very sort of kind of cornery edges. I think it's a beautiful stone. And once I get these in, so it needs to be a little rounder. Then I'll start to work on the textures and the shadows and the highlights. This doesn't look bright enough. So now I'm coming in closer so you guys can watch me. I'm going to start on the gray stone first. This is the one I'm going to be working on. Okay, so it's got a very much highlighted up on this top side. And more shadowy, sort of indents here a bit. Some more shadow tones. I'm using Strathmore, just regular Strathmore drawing paper. And it has some texture to it, so that's going to show up in my pencil lines. I'm just sort of going in a very relaxed way, just to get the general shape and shadows and highlights. And then I'll go back with much more refined strokes later. Now this is already going to be too dark up here. So in contrast, this has to get much darker just in here. So this idea of me figuring out how to make art videos is brought to you by the Saturday ladies. Hillary and Janet and Valerie and I met on video this past Saturday. And they really wanted to have some sort of lesson apart from our studio lessons that they could enjoy while we're kept apart. So they asked me about doing maybe some video workshops, and I didn't have a clue how to do a video workshop, so but I liked the idea, and this is going to be separate from our classes. I'm going to do several of these. The requests so far are for textures, composition, and textures in color pencil. So I think I'm going to break it down this way. I'm going to use stones as my model for textures. And then for the first one. And then I'm going to do other subjects with texture. We'll see what those are going to be. This is all brand new to me, so I'm figuring it out as I go along. But I think one of the advantages here is just to be able to sit and watch anyone use their technique and watch it grow. We don't really ever have a chance when we're in our studio classes to do specific demonstrations. Every now and then we do, but mostly because we're each working on individual pieces, I do little tiny demos of just what to do to solve the problems you're having with the work you're working on. So this is a whole nother idea. And so I'm trying to find a way to keep them manageable and easy to absorb, not too long. I'm hoping I can get them into 20 or 30-minute blocks. And then what would be nice if we could do discussions afterwards. So say those of you that wanted to do this video decided, okay, I'm going to give it a whirl. I'm going to use and I'll supply the photograph of these stones, so you don't even have to go get stones. Okay, so wait, let me describe what I'm doing. So you see, so far I've been working very much on the flat of my pencil. Very light stroke, just laying in tones. Easy does it. And my edges are still kind of scratchy, the searching lines, so I'm going to close in on those soon. So when I see that this area is starting to get darker, like right up here, you see how that's much darker, and then it dips down, and then it starts to come up to the highlight again. So you get this highlight area, and then it drops off, and you get this lovely shadow at the bottom, shadow down here, and this edge is catching a lot of light, so this is going to be much lighter. So, and this is darker over here, and this cast shadow is here. So I think with this particular kind of project, it's nice just to work from photos. Also nice because we're all homebound with the coronavirus. So as I get down to that darker area, I'm going to start to go up a little, angle my pencil a little more, so I get more definition into that shadow area. Still working very lightly with my pencil. I don't want to ever press. So now I'm just going into smaller little circles with the pencil held a little more upright, not completely upright, because then that would get very dark very fast. So I'm just very softly working into this lovely little shadow down in here where it drops down in. Do you guys remember worry stones? Those stones you used to buy in shops that had the feeling of a thumbprint in it, so you could worry it with your hand, like sort of as a way to relax. This to me looks like a worry stone for a giant, some massive person from Middle Earth or something who created this lovely form by worrying this stone with his big giant thumb. Been inside for so long. So see, I'm starting to work this shadow up. See? Here's this shadow right here. Starting to work this shadow up, and I'm going to drop it down over there. First I want to clean up this edge a bit. and take my kneaded eraser and clean up some of these stray edges. And then I'll create better edges with going in with the shadows, with the forms, and the more proper pencil lines. Okay, all right, so. Okay, so this is again really light up here. Now, I've got a light edge, so, but it's looking dark because, you know, we're on the lighter paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, you see how there's the tabletop I have this on. I'm not going to draw the tabletop, but that value of that tabletop right there is darker than the value of this highlight right here. And this highlight is lighter than the table all the way around until it gets to here, and then it becomes darker than the table. So I'm going to pay attention to the value of the table and how it offsets the value of the stone. So, as example, for this light edge, I'm going to go out here and create a slightly darker value that would represent the surface that the stone is sitting on. And then this will allow the stone to become more popped out. You see how that edge just starts to appear, not because of a line, but just because of the color of the surface that the stone is sitting on. Because I'm not going to have these stones floating in space. They are going to be on a surface. You see how that little bit's getting a little darker than right there than I'd want it? So I take my kneaded eraser and I just touch that a bit, soften it up. Okay, so I'm going to come around here again and add a little shadow around it. I'm not going to worry about going up and shadowing the whole table area. This is just about doing the stones. Okay. So you have to be patient. Take your time, light strokes. You treat these like meditations. Keep looking at your photograph to see if you're on track. So see, I'm moving over into this area now. I have to figure out how to get this set up so you can see the stone at the same time that you're seeing me draw it. But I'm learning, so this is just my first one, so I hope it's okay. I still have to edit it and figure out how to send it to you all. So whenever you're doing shadows, remember, blend out from the shadow. Don't have an abrupt shadow. Even here, when this is a fairly dark shadow, there is still some value change ever so slightly in this area before it drops off. You see these just slightly softer darks in here. So, and down here, there's a little reflected light. That's slightly lighter than the shadow that's cast underneath it. Okay, so there are variations even in this shadow that you want to pay attention to. Okay, so back to drawing. Okay, now I want to turn my paper a little bit so my hand is more comfortable, and this has to come out here a little more. This is, I'm getting into one of those darker shadows. but it does soften up as it comes up here. Okay. So I'm getting used to trying to just talk to you while I'm drawing. Usually when I draw, I'm by myself, of course, but I usually listen to podcasts. And I actually not really listening to them. After a while, once you get deep into the drawing, you don't really hear anything. You're just in the drawing. And that's when it really becomes nice. When you just sort of disappear into the drawing. Okay, this needs to come out a little further. This shadow, this part of the stone. See, so I can go right in and correct that stone's edge by just matching the shadow next to it. Rounding it off, making it nice. Okay. I hope everybody's doing okay. And things are okay here at the house. It's weird for Andrew working in the basement. So the studio is all his workspace now. And he's being very dedicated, sticking to a timeline, not working in his pajamas. He's really, he's doing a good job. He's working hard. So this is this dark side of this stone. I haven't really done any texture yet, even though there is a little bit of texture in this stone. It's basically very smooth, so I'm going to get to the texture later on. So I'm going to put this shadow in. Light touch, don't go fast. You can go, I'm moving pretty quickly, but my touch is light, and I keep looking for areas where I might need to blend a little more. And when I want to get much darker, I'll go more up on my point. I want this edge a little cleaner now, so I am going on my point. Making this a little darker. This is the darkest part of the rock. Now remember I told you that there was a little bit of a reflected light right there, right in there. You can just see it's ever so slightly lighter than this darker part above it and the darker cast shadow below it. So I can either go in above it, and the contrast of the darker shadow above it will start to make the reflected light more evident. See how that starts to appear? It's sort of different color shadows within shadows. So shadow isn't necessarily all one tone. So within this rock, because of the reflected light coming up off of the table, there's a very subtle light bouncing up on the lower edge of this rock. So you want it kind of like a glow. You don't want it too stripy looking. You know, you want it to look like a reflected shadow, so it is going to have a shape, but you want the shape to be softened. So there's still some reflected light even down here on the point. So I'm just going to go above it. And show this reflected light. And then I can put the cast shadow underneath by starting with like a much darker value, like a value 10. I need to sharpen my pencil so my value is good. If you have a dull pencil, see how nice and sharp that is. You can't really get into those grains of the paper to make a really lovely dark. So it's not because I'm pressing. It's just because my pencil now is able to get down in those little nooks and crannies, the grain of the paper. Okay. And then, of course, it doesn't stay that dark for long. The darkest part of the shadow is tucked up the closest to the object that is falling away from. So it very soon will start getting light into it, and that shadow will then become softer as it moves away from the stone. So that's good. Okay. I hope this works. I'm not running out of power. I better plug my phone in. It's probably going to jiggle. Sorry if it jiggles. Here we go. Okay. Am I still, you guys still able to see what I'm doing? Yep. Should move it up a little more. Okay. Okay. All right. So I've spent a couple of days online learning about how to rig up a overhead way to shoot artwork. There's all kinds of complicated, expensive ways to do it. There's also less expensive ways, and I was able to, with what I had in the house, pretty much rig up what I needed by using one of my tripods that I used for plein air painting. And I'll show you pictures of that. You know, this shadow is a little lighter over here. Let's be more light getting into it. Okay. So, yeah, so it was a lot of information. I'm going to take this footage and try to edit it. And it's going to be my first try. And I hope it's not a disaster. And you guys get to be my guinea pigs. First one's free. And these aren't going to be expensive. They're going to be reasonable, you know, so you can just enjoy them and have fun and have a project to do where you don't have to think, oh, Laura, what am I going to draw? I'm not inspired. I can't get anything done. And maybe these little videos will give you some inspiration. And then you'll feel like doing a little something and then you can post it on Art from the Bunker on Facebook, or you can bring it to one of our group meetings and show us on the camera, or you can even send it to me. Email it to me if you don't have ways of doing that. So you see how this is starting to come, it's starting to emerge now. You see how this, that glow on that stone is starting to happen. It's fun when it starts to happen. Now, if you ever lose the glow, you can always go in with your kneaded and sort of pick it out. So I'm probably good for one stone today, and then I'll probably do the next 2 stones, maybe one this afternoon and maybe one tomorrow, and then that will be the first video. I still haven't done the details, so I've got to do that. Let's see. And you constantly look at your subject. Okay, so how am I doing? You see that? There's that glow, there's the deep shadow, and it's much lighter here, up here, where it comes back up into the light. I'm going to put a little, soften that edge a little bit, but this catches a lot of light on this side. You see here? There's a lot of light there. I hope this video is not too dark. I think maybe I need to put a little more light over the subject, hopefully. Now, this paper, as I said, is grainy, but actually for a rock, it kind of works in our favor because the rock has graininess to it. So that's kind of okay. So you can sort of, the paper, gives us a little hand in making a more organic shape. There have been a lot of people on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, a lot of artists doing live broadcasts. I was thinking of trying to do a live one, but it takes so long to do a drawing that I thought everybody would be asleep by the time I was done. And so I thought it'd be better just to make a video. I can edit it down a bit. I don't think I can edit it where I'm talking because then my words won't make any sense unless I can remove my words and then put them back in again. I don't know. I don't know. I'm new to this. So this is all Hillary, Janet, and Lisa and Valerie's fault. My Saturday woman. But I'm actually kind of glad it's pushing me to do something I've never tried before. And I do have people that say, oh, I wish I lived near you so I could take your classes. So maybe these little videos will allow people to come in and play, that aren't around here, that will never be able to come to my studio, but would just like to learn some drawing techniques or watercolor or color pencil. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Might go nowhere. You don't know. But I like learning new things, and I'm kind of geeky, I guess. I do like although the computer stuff can be really frustrating, I love exploring and learning. So it's kind of fun to be able to figure out things that I don't know anything about. And that's what I was doing for the last 2 days, was figuring out things that I knew absolutely nothing about. I did not know anything about making an art video. Okay. So I'm going to stop this for a second and change the position of my paper. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I changed the position because it's hard to, you want to get your hand, you see now I've got this in this position because it's hard to reach. You want to keep your arm comfortable and you don't want to be cramping your wrist into all kinds of contortions. Always move your paper around so you can be comfortable with when you're drawing your artwork. There's a bit of a soft shadow on this edge that's sloping away from the light, you see. You see right here? There's a bit of a shadow before it turns into highlight. So you pay attention to that shadow. It's a lighter shadow, dark, 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 lighter, lighter, lighter. So there's all variations of shadow in here. Okay. So here we go. Okay. This is coming down here. Also, when you turn your pencil, your paper, your pencil works on a different part of the grain. So you see how this is looking a little smoother, just a touch smoother because I'm moving the other way with the pencil. Okay, so this is gonna make this super light. And then we've got a little bit of the color of the table behind here. Just a touch. So when you're doing this exercise, I want you to remember how much time it takes to draw a rock. When you're really, really looking at the rock, you're looking at every nuance, every little nuance. Don't just think of it as, oh, it's just a rock, a simple shape. It's not. It's not simple. We know that from botanical art, right? There's no such thing as simple. See, now I'm going out into a very light, 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 light. Just barely toning the paper. Barely, barely, barely touching. I get that super light value around this rock. Okay, now this edge is looking a little rough. So I don't like, there's some, you know, on paper, it has little bits where it picks up graphite and it just keeps picking it up and picking it up and you get these little spots. So you don't want spots. Now I want a little bit more of a highlight here. I want this to be a little brighter. So I'm going to go in and just lift that a touch. Just a bit, just a touch. So I get a nice glow, nice bright glow. Might have gone too far, we'll see. And this is a little less of a glow, but it's a glow nonetheless. Okay. A little bit of a glow over here. Okay. All right, oh, now Ben is scratching to come in. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Ben's inside. If anybody ever watches this video that's not in my class and doesn't know me very well, Ben is my dog. You can hear him scratching on his bed probably right now. He's a bit of a loon. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Ben. And I love him to pieces, even though he's a loon. Okay, this is getting a little dark over here. I know, it's okay. It's all right, Benny. Yeah. See, I'm dabbing. Dabbing is a little softer and easier to control. Yeah, Ben, you're a good boy. And you can go back in with your pencil. Okay. All right, so this needs to be a little darker here. So, if you're going to try this exercise, what you need to do is you need to pay attention to all the nuances in the shadows as they travel over this, the highlights as they travel over the rock, and the shadows as they fall on the rock, and the difference in the values of the shadows. As you can see, there's a lot of shadows that I'm drawing on this rock, but they are not all the same. Some are dark, some are light, and that's important. That's what's going to make it look like a rock instead of just a blob. And that's, you guys don't want to draw a blob, you want to draw a nice stone. And these are beautiful stones. These are stones that I always fill my pockets with stones when we go up to the Cape. So all these stones are from the Cape. I love the stones on the beach. So I really hope this video is looking all right. You know, I won't really know until I look at it on my camera, put it in editing, and see what happened. Okay, so this shadow comes up a little further. Sometimes the shadow and the stone are going to be almost the same, but this shadow is darker than the stone. Right up to here. And then it goes down this way. And continues. It's almost time for Andrew to stop his workday. He works until 4 o'clock every day. Starts at like 8:30 every morning. And I think it's getting close to 4. Sorry I drift in and out of conversation. I mean, I think you can see from what I'm doing pretty much what's going on. Light touch, taking my time. This part of the stone stays dark for longer than where am I? Yeah, this part. See, this part of the stone I'm doing now here. It's rounder actually than I've made it. I should go out more. So I've been learning about iMovie and editing. I realize on my new phone, there's an entire iMovie editing tool right in your phone that you can do incredible things with, or that's what it says you can. So I'm going to try to do some incredible things. We'll see how incredible it goes. So I'm just going to do a little bit more on this. I'm just glad my tripod hasn't fallen over and everything seems to be in working order. Now it starts to join back in with that thumbprint. It's like a big thumbprint. It gets darker over here. I'm gonna make this a little darker still right in here. Now, this might be really boring for people to watch. So you can speed through it. You know, you can like click on it now and then to see how far I've gone. Or you can take the picture and you can just put the video on. You can listen to me as you do your own work, like white noise, and you know, whatever. You hear a lot of pencil scratching, huh? You can hear a lot of graininess on this paper. That's okay. It's coming along. It's doing all right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to sharpen my pencil again. Oops. Sorry. Oops. I caught the phone. Come on, back up. You go. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I caught the phone charger on my phone. Okay. So, here we go. I'm sort of blending this a bit, a little more on point, so it's not quite so grainy. This should be darker. working these shadows too much. I think these are getting too strong. I'm gonna go in, you see how I flattened this? Like a pancake. I'm just gonna go in and dab those out a bit. Getting a little strong. Got away from me a little bit. So I'm just gonna lift them out. And then I can go back in a bit. I think I'm getting tired. I think I need to take a little break. Okay. Gotta love a kneaded eraser. Takes care of so many problems. I'm gonna take a little break. My neck's getting stiff. And I've been drawing for a while now. If you don't press, it's really easy to lift. Never, ever, 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 ever press with your pencils. Never push the graphite down into the paper. There's no way back. That's better. Okay, I'm gonna take a break. Come back and finish it up in a bit. Okay, I'm back. It's the next day. And sharpening my pencil. Rock is nearly finished. What I've learned from my first video is it takes a long time to do a graphite drawing, and I always knew that. But when I'm actually seeing it on a timer for a video, I realize it takes a really long time for a graphite drawing. So, next subjects I choose, I'll try to choose ones that are slightly smaller so I can get through the lesson with less time. This is my hake brush. It's nice for brushing things off, or a feather, or any kind of soft brush. So I'm just working a little, just refining this a bit. Working into the shadows a bit, making, and I need to add a little more texture into this stone. It's a very smooth stone, but it still has some texture. This is such a nice dark shadow here. I don't want to lose it. And put a little more over here. This needs to blend up a bit more. I hope we're back in classes. You know, it would be nice if we could be back by fall, but I don't know what's going on in New York. I guess this is going to be a long haul here to get everything back to safety. I thought what we could do is in the summer, we could do nature journaling, keep a safe distance from each other. If we all worked on the same subject, sort of in a big circle, so we could visit with each other, draw together, and then everybody's, could then do round robin. Leave your drawing, and everybody could go individually. We could circle around and look at each other's drawings and then circle back and continue our work. That way we could be outside and enjoy some art together, and I thought that would be nice. Now I'm working on a few of the little textures. You see, there's textures in here. Even though it's a very smooth stone, there's little textures going on. So I'm using some of them to emphasize the shadowy area. And you see, I sort of do just a little bit of a uneven, little scribbly touch, and that allows me to give little bits of texture and little shadowy nooks into the stone. My plein air people, my Saturday ladies, they also would like to start going out and painting when the weather starts to get nice on Saturday mornings. So that would be nice. Start doing a plein air class Saturday mornings. And I'll try to figure out with everybody about, if you want to still apply class funds to the next session, whenever that is, or what you want to do. We'll figure that out. And we'll talk about that on Thursday or in emails. And we're just all making it up as we go along, huh? But I think this is a good idea. I think this is fun to do. It's making me push myself and learn something new. Learn about computers a little more in a way I didn't know. Maybe video, setting up an overhead camera. It's all good. So, ladies, I think I don't want to overdo the textures because they're very soft in this stone. They're not too crazy. Okay. That's good for now. All right, ladies, so please, everybody, stay safe, stay well, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, don't forget your mask and gloves, and I miss everybody. Okay, first lesson done. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.